Hello everyone, DM Geezer Jim back. We're continuing on our Fiends series today. We left off the last episode with Lesser Demons. Lesser Demons being everything from Dretches all the way up to the big bad Molly Dios and Baylors. So Lesser Demons mainly, anything that's not a Demon Lord, Demon Prince without a name was the focus of the last video. So this one we're getting into the big bads, the demon lords, demon princes, aubrynths, and things like that. Now, before we go too far along, before we really get started into things, remember the abyss is by definition infinite. You, as a dungeon master, as a world builder, have all the creative freedom to continue making as many demon lords and demon princes as you want to. Same as the lesser demons, the ones that we reviewed in our last video, were just kind of your standardized stat blocks. You can use those and kind of amend them, upend them, and change them in any way, shape, or form that you want, because demons are, the manifestations of chaotic evil. And chaos being what it is, isn't limited to just a set number of forms or bodies. So, and the same thing's going to apply to the demon princes. We're going to look through the history. Currently, I have the 4th edition monster manual up because they did solid by a couple of the demon princes on the cover art. You have Loth over here, the demon queen of spiders on monster manual 3 from 4th edition. Our boy Demogorgon represented on the second cover, and Orcus on the first cover. So. Demon princes, demon lords, aubrynths, all of those kind of things. The big, bad, nasty demons. I think a lot of people are familiar with the names, even if we've never fought Demogorgon. We're likely familiar with the idea of the name. So let's get into them. First thing we're looking at is the 1st edition monster manual. And this was the initial release of several of the demon princes that are still in play in 5th edition, 50 years later. Demogorgon being the first one that was listed. Rivalry between the demon lords is great, but the enmity between Demogorgon and Orcus is immense and unending. Demogorgon is a terrible opponent, so on and so forth. This is a little bit more about his combat abilities. Most of your 1st edition stat blocks, a little bit light on lore, a little bit light on habitat environment. 2nd edition did a good job of that. But primary focus is on using these guys to fight. When your players square off with Demogorgon, this is what he does. So, Prince of the Demons, Juiblix is the faceless lord, the lords of slimes, most disgusting and loathsome of all demons. Juiblix is foul and nauseating in the extreme. His dripping form can lash forward in melee to cause terrible damage. And then you have Orcus, the Prince of the Undead. Now, the 3 of these, you're looking at some black and white 1st edition art for the first 3 demon princes that were released. Those are the only ones that came in the 1st edition monster manual. Juiblix, Demogorgon, and Orcus. Their art has gotten more refined over the years, but hasn't necessarily changed overall in thematics. So there's this cool adventure called S4 Lost Caverns of Sothcant that brought a lot more demonology into D&D. And that fed into Monster Manual 2, which we're going to take a look at here. This one brings us Baphomet, the demon lord of minotaurs. And this also gave us Fraz Urblu, the prince of deception, and Grazit, the demon prince, the demon prince of debauchery and pleasure, as he's noticed later, and Kostichichi, the demon lord of hill giants and frost giants, Pazuzu, the prince of the lower aerial kingdoms. So we ended up with a few more. Now, on a side note, it's like, well, where's Loth? Loth was actually buried, and I do apologize. Let me get back to that here. She was in the Fiend Folio, if I'm remembering right. Oops, I had one book that I didn't bring up here. It's loading. And our lovely lady Loth is going to be, let's table of contents, this sucker. We'll just scroll. Dragon. I think she was actually listed as a demon, so let's scroll back up to daemons, Grills, Gith. Sorry, I should have been better prepared for this one for Miss Loth. Yep, Demon Queen of Spiders. Now, her stat block originally showed up in Q1 Queen of the Demon Web Pits, which was our first foray officially into Abyssal adventures. That one took us into the Descent in the Depths of the Earth, the Drow city of Aaronlad Synthlu, and ultimately put our players into the demon webs. Okay, we're going to do another episode that's going to focus more on specific layers of the abyss in our next video, but just so they're like, what about Loth? There's Loth. So second edition's official publications were in the midst of what we know as the Satanic Panic. At this point, second edition D&D takes our demons and our devils, changes them into Tonari and Batizu. They were not featured very heavily in the Monstrous Compendiums as solid blocks. They were kind of scattered throughout a lot of publications. That is to say that there wasn't really any shift. Orcus, and to an extent, Orcus, Demogorgon, Baphomet, Kostichichi, all the ones that we've looked at so far are still in play at this point in our timeline. Now, Planescape gave us Hellbound the Blood War and Faces of Evil the Fiends, two outstanding books that talk about the lower planes, the interaction between the devils and the demons, and some specific stuff about our fiendish foes or friends, however you look at it. One thing Planescape did focus on was the non-named demons, as far as giving us a different selection of demon lords and demon princes. Yeah, we've had Baphomet, we've had this, we've had all these guys so far, and now let's look at some other ones. So we're looking at Hellbound the Blood War, the second edition release, Tonari, demonic NPCs. So Ilsender is a Baelor that is named, one of the most feared of all the Baelors, and unlike many of his brethren, he prefers fighting in the front lines to plotting and planning. Ilsender is usually right in the thick of things, wreaking havoc and pouring forth his fury within the Blood Wars. And Tormanda is a Merilith general, and the Marquess of Loss is an Alfesni judge of the Abyss. You do have some Abyssal Lords that are mentioned here that pop up in some future editions, but you know, there is the typical Grazit and Pazrael are most well-known Abyssal Lords because only so many have recently risen through the ranks. The new rulers are hunting portfolios and worshippers. Alzurius, the Lord of the Infernal Light, lives on the 601st layer. Alzurius is on the 601st layer, Conflagorium, a blinding flame burning with a white radiance, emanates from the fluted architecture of a city long since fallen into the ravages of war. The twisted bridges and strange geometries of the city lie scattered on the ground. Only the palace of Alzurius stands whole. Alzurius has chosen the infernal flame as its signature, adopting the form of a dancing tongue of fire. Its army of Arbonites and Baobaos, under the command of Kleskull the Blameless, who is a Baobao, makes lightning-quick strikes into the gray waste and beyond, leaving a trail of flame and destruction in its wake. It's said that the fiends carry a torch from the body of Alzurius with them when they go spread his word wherever they go. From time to time, Alzurius seeks out mortals, hoping to entice them to carry its flame to other lands and other planes. Once in a while, the flame incinerates its bearer, but Alzurius is usually magnanimous enough to let its servants live, if only they can serve him again. Lazare the Noxious, the acid-strewn clouds of the 27th layer, Malignebula, are homes to the gaseous Lady Lazare, a swirling funnel of malevolence and poison mist. Alu Fiends, Nabasau, and Vrox make up her armor, sailing forth only when the Batizu troops cross the Carcerai and threaten the borders of the Abyss. Sidebar, we are reading from Hellbound the Blood War, so they are giving us demons, higher power demons are involved in the Blood War a little bit more. There's going to be some more information in the Faces of the Fiends, which we'll look at next. And we'll keep on going. We'll keep on trucking through. Vulkaric, consort of chains. Unlike most Abyssal Lords, Vulkaric rules over not a single lair, but instead roams the entire plane of the Abyss at his whims. The sounds of metallic rattling always precede the coming of the Lord and his hosts. Wielding lengths of enchanted chain and covered from head to toe in rust-darkened metal, the battalion scours the Abyss, seeking to inflict the tenabulous words of Vulkaric on those who will listen. The Batizu text deceptions and stratagems leak Vulkaric to the Chitons of Mineros, similarly chain-wrapped creatures whose torture sods just for the thrill of their screams. If Vulkaric is truly tainted with lawful blood, it might explain why he doesn't rule any layers of the Abyss. In any event, rumors say that Vulkaric occasionally hires those he comes across and sends them forth as his heralds instead. So continuing in our second level, or our second edition Planescape, we're going to flip over to the book Faces of Evil, the Fiends. This one gives us another listing of Abyssal Lords. It is an entertaining writing because it was written by Zanzost, a slotty who considers himself a scholar. So just so you know, there are some strange. The verbiage in this reading is a little bit strange, but it's very entertaining. Alvarez. Tanari call him the Purging Duke, but not when he might hear. Alvarez is most famous for the cruelty and brutality he shows his troops. Even the fiends fear the invective tortures of those under the Duke's command. Slotty do not, of course. Chant is the Duke was recently a mortal who proved so cleverly hateful that he won over the Nalfejni who had judged him. Xanthos is heard he served only as a Kazmi and later a Glebrizu, and for only 3 millennium before ascending to his current form. His current form, Alvarez, takes the shape of an ordinary human male with oily blue-black hair and immaculately pressed clothing. But look closer. See the light of insanity that burns in his eyes. The Duke rules the torturous truth, the 57th layer of the abyss, and he calls himself the Inquisitor of the Tanari. Does the Cambion show signs of having dealt with the Batizu, like maybe he started to act too orderly? Oh ho! He will be questioned by Alvarez and his intensely loyal team. It is easy for them to be loyal when they're afraid they might be next. Alvarez has reminded the Tanari the meaning of pain. All fiends in the abyss fear the coming of his soldiers. The Duke occasionally uses Mortal and Slotty to send messages to his next victims or spy on suspected traitors. Xanthos would not do it, though. Anyone who does a bad job for the Duke does not live long enough to wonder if they should worry about not having done it right. Eldenoth is our next one. Once the Lord of the Undead ruled the 113th layer of the Abyss, where he used wards to keep many servants enslaved. But one day, Kirian Sali threw the master out and broke the wards. Out came many vassals, including Eldenoth, who is now trying to get mortals on the prime material plane to worship him so he can become an abyssal lord too. Eldenoth looks like a smiling male tiefling with snakes growing from his fingertips. He wants to become a power of crime and hatred, and his worshippers include the ritual slaughter of criminals by criminals. Their spirits are said to feed his strength with their evil. They are evil. Slotty reports say that one of the old abandoned layers of the abyss, somewhere in the 300s, is slowly being reshaped by Eldenoth. Snakes and manes already gather on the blasted plains outside of a copper fortress that has risen from a rent in the earth. It is said that when Eldenoth journeys to a prime material world, he leaves his body hidden in this fortress and projects his personality through the astral plane. Next up is Frazor Blue. Remember, we looked at him briefly in Monster Manual 2. He was the Prince of Deception. So moving forward, what does Planescape have to say? Xanthos has heard that Frazor Blue, the Prince of Deception, left the Abyss and went to the Grey Waste. Now he hears the Prince has just returned to the Abyss after a lengthy imprisonment on the prime material world of Oerth. He has taken control of Hollow's Heart, the 176th layer, and he is bending all his resources towards the destruction of mortals for how they treated him. But the Prince lost much of his strength while trapped, and he has to get it all back first. But Frazor Blue is a canny lord, and he is slowly drawing together all the elements of his reign that were stolen away. Xanthos has seen drawings of Frazor Blue. He looks funny. He is a beautiful, hulking monster with a cruel face. His body is covered with short hair, and his ears look as though Slotty had been chewing on them. 2 huge ebon wings protrude from his shoulders. Frazor Blue has no use for mortals except for as slaves as food. It's been a long time since Xanthos has eaten. Sidebar: if you enjoy the Planescape lore, Xanthos is an entertaining scholar that shows up through multiple box sets and readings. I enjoy reading books that don't necessarily write out as textbooks, but it is a little bit funny to read about a Grey Slotty giving their opinions on the multiverse. Next up is Lupericio. Lupericio. The Baron of Sloth is an ebony-colored creature with no distinct form. Excuse me. Light wraps around his body so no one can see it much. But tales in limbo tell of 4 signs of his presence. The first sign is the fiendish smile that echoes from the dark well of Lupericio's face. When his sharpened teeth glitter in the blackness, get ready for the second sign. His basso tittering cackle, a mixture of sounds that is known to curdle even Slotty blood. The third sign is Lupericio's incredible strength. The Tanari say there is nothing in the abyss that the Baron cannot lift. The fourth sign. 3 signs. A Baelor once told Xanthos that Lupericio is really the embodiment of the strength of darkness. But whatever Lupercio is, he goes back and forth between long periods of total sloth and short bouts of manic activity. So he either sits and sits and sits, or he flits around like a whole swarm of chaos imps. Even the other Tenari do not know what to think. Lupercio leaves many tasks unfinished and speed through others with blinding precision. Tenari say that the Baron is the lord of the slug bed, the 128th layer of the abyss. But Lupercio keeps little layers on many other layers as well. Cramped hovels, graceful castles, and dung-filled riverbeds. He has no definition. Next up is Linkob. Lady Linkob is a puzzle. She is deep depression and intense desire both at the same time. A big book of names, the Moor's mysterious Nomenom, says she is depressed because she did her job too well. What Zanzos means to say, Linkob expressed the idea of desire so perfectly that she became a disembodied force. But she reformed herself so she could continue her expression. Now she wishes she never took her body back. Oh, it's too late. Linkob has become a creature of pure will, too cohesive to move on to a new existence. She tries and tries, and she fails and fails. She can force herself out of her own memory and thus out of her own being for a brief time, but she is desire. And she is so strong that she always reappears after a day or two. This is why she is depression too. She wants to become a true deity, but she is stuck right where she is, just a poor little abyssal lord. Of course, Linkob is stuck in a physical form, but it does not always have to be the same form. She reads the desires and the hearts of others and feeds off of their lusts. Zanzos would like to see what kind of slotty she would make. Lately, Linkob takes the shape of a flame-haired, voluptuous elf with eyes of burning ice. The Tenari say that she owns the 297th layer, the Sighing Cliffs, but she also wanders the abyss because no one, not even other lords, can hurt her. Sometimes she seeks out mortal adventurers in the abyss and says, "Hello, please try to kill me." If they fail, she puts them in the dead book. So far, everyone has failed. Next up is Pale Knight. Sidebar, Pale Knight actually sits in a separate category of demons called Aubrynths. There have been mentions of Aubrynths in 2nd edition lore briefly, but 3rd edition really takes a look at the Aubrynths as a whole, the predecessors of the demons. They were in the abyss before the demons manifested. So yes, there are powers greater and stronger and older than even Orcuses and Loths and Demogorgons and all of that. Pale Knight is one of the first ones that got mentioned. The lady known as Pale Knight is one of the oldest abyssal lords. The Moor's Mysterium Nominum book says that she also is the mother of several others, including Grazit, Lupercio, and Vukarik of Chains. Zanzos will talk about him next. Pale Knight is rarely seen outside of her bone castle, which sits in the endless maze of Baphomet, the 600th layer. Her keep looks like a giant grasping hand, and it's guarded at all times by a horde of creeping claws and bones that move all on their own. Slotties say the castle itself can rise up and crush all who come against it. Sometimes mortals who wander through Baphomet's maze stumble across her castle. The lady sends some of them on their way and keeps some of the others for her collection of guardians. Of course, if she thinks that one of her infernal children might be plotting against her, she sometimes gives the mortals the job of finding out. The Lady Pale Knight always appears as a female wrapped in a single shroud. But when the foul wind around her palace catches the edge of the garment, all who are around can see. There is no physical form inside. Her parasites talk and talk and talk about this. Is this a deliberate statement? Is it a curse? Is it even time to eat yet? Zanzos is still hungry. But the lady hardly ever speaks. This leaves her servants to wonder. Our next one up is going to be Varen, and then we're going to switch books here. Varen is a slim, pale figure who serves the abyssal lord Grazit. He is also known as Stefano, and Slotties report he might be nothing more than a parasite, not a real lord at all. Varen does nothing to stop such talk. At the very least, he has contacts amongst all the lords. If he can ask them for aid and favors, is he not powerful? Zanzos would say yes to that. As one of Grazit's primary servants, Varen finds out all that he can about the weaknesses of the other abyssal lords. Then when Grazit tells him to, or whenever he feels like being evil, which is always, because he is a Tenari, what's Zanzos thinking? Anyway, Varen leaks his secret information to various other abyssal lords and then sits back and watches them attack each other. None of the lords trust Varen, but they all fear him. After all, Varen might hold secrets that could be used against them, so they go along with whatever he says to a certain extent. Stefano is more than just another name for this creature. It is another aspect. Who can say what the true fiend? Xanthos can. No, wait, that's someone else. One aspect is pale, the other is dark. Both ooze spiritual slime. The only difference between them is that Stefano has the power to travel undetected, while Varen is better known amongst all the lords of the plane. So, Faces of Evil, the Fiends, gives us a little bit more personality, a little bit more information about the obscure demon lords, demon princes. Okay? So next up, we're going to switch gears. This video might run a little bit long. They're worth it, right? We're going to flip forward to Fiendish Codex 1, Hordes of the Abyss. This is a 3rd edition book. What page am I on down here? Sorry. We're going to be on 57, just so you can get covered real quick. Outstanding resource. Even if it is 3rd edition, you don't play 3rd edition, don't be afraid of it. The stats don't mean anything. Whatever edition you're playing is going to have the stat blocks that you need. But the 3rd edition, this book gives outstanding information on the Abyss, demons, demonology, physiology, plots, tactics, and all of this. I personally believe that the 3rd edition Phoenix Codex is kind of the basis, the baseline that everything in future editions is pulled from. Most of your information, I would say 80% of this, is still canonically accurate through all of the other editions. There's been a couple changes here and there based on adventures and things like that, but by and large, your information that is given here is pretty good. So let's do a little bit more reading, and then we'll move on to some more art, and ultimately the 5th edition. Demon Lords, Chapter 3. The most powerful demons are the Demon Lords. These individuals are unique demons that can command entire layers of the Abyss and function almost as deities. They can project physical manifestations onto the astral plane, and from there infiltrate other planes without placing themselves in danger of being slain. Some demon lords are known as demon princes, but such titles are largely meaningless in a realm as infinite and chaotic as the Abyss. A demon lord that is slain is banished to his home lair for 100 years. According to the Black Scrolls of Om, a demon lord slain on his home lair is destroyed forever, although the Demonomicon of Igwilv argues that the Abyss itself can respawn a supposedly destroyed demon lord for reasons that are unfathomable. And that's been said a couple times as we've gone through this. Kill a demon prince, knock yourself out. Even if it's not the exact same Demogorgon, the Abyss is going to spit another one out eventually. Your demons are infinite. As long as the Abyss exists as this churning maelstrom of chaotic evil energy, demons will continue to generate from it. So real quick, fighting demon lords. We're gonna read through the 3rd edition. Again, stats don't matter. Good content though. Good ideas and good theories. Some of the demon lords described in this chapter originally appeared in the Book of Vile Darkness. They've been slightly updated to conform with the revised 3.5 D&D rules. Slightly less powerful than previous incarnations, they better serve as major villains for high-level but not epic-level D&D campaigns. These high challenge ratings are based on the Demon Lord's abilities and also supported by a couple of these assumptions. Characters are most likely to face a Demon Lord on its home layer of the Abyss. Here, the Demon Lord should possess an inherent tactical advantage because his lair should contain environmental hazards that are troublesome or outright hostile to interlopers. You're not going to fight a Demon Lord in an arena, okay? Number 2, a demon lord should never be encountered alone. Demons abound in the Abyss, and demon lords tend to surround themselves with powerful minions and consorts. So, demon lord aspects. The concept of a demon lord aspect was introduced in the Miniatures Handbook, 3rd edition. It's been introduced in other editions. Let's not make that mistake. An aspect is a physical embodiment of a portion of demon's life force created to serve as a proxy on another plane without placing the demon lord in any actual danger. We talked about that right back here in the Faces of Evil, right? Aspects do tend to be weaker than their progenitors and usually manifest in demonic temples where the demon lord is worshipped. Sample demon lord aspects are presented in Fiendish Codex 1, Horde of the Abyss, Web Enhancement. We have that resource. We're not going to worry about it. So, making epic demon lords. Combat with a demon lord should be something that happens only in the most high-powered campaigns. The demon lords in this book are extremely difficult challenges for non-epic characters. If you wish to create epic-level versions of the demon lord to challenge characters of 21st level or higher, you can modify their statistics in the following ways. There's a lot of math here. Don't sweat it. So let's get to him. Baphomet, Demon Lord of Minotaurs. Okay. We'll read through. We're not going to go through all the stats. Don't sweat in on that. We're going to read through the servants, enemies, and goals so you can get a little bit of the idea of what's going on with Baphomet in his lair. Well, strategy and tactics, sure, why not? So Baphomet revels in melee combat. He's not blindly confident in his prowess. He begins combat by casting maze against his most powerful-looking foe. He then uses powerful charge against the next enemy, followed by the next round by full attack with his glaives and gore attacks. He generally saves his bellow or breath weapons for situations where he can hit a large number of foes. Faced with enemies that stay at range to assault him, Baphomet generally summons a Garisto to provide range support while he follows up with his spell-like abilities. Oh, you want to shoot? Fine, I'll bring a shooter. Baphomet is served by fiendish and half-fiend minotaurs, many of them possessing levels in Barbarian, Cleric, or Ranger. His ability to cast Awaken once per day ensures he always has a powerful ally, such as an intelligent dire bear, dire tiger, dinosaur, or similar minion at hand. Baphomet is also served by Bullazows and Garisto demons. A growing number of humanoid cultists have taken to his worship in poor rural areas. Desperate commoners sometimes turn to beast cults, organized by evil rangers who claim to venerate a nature deity who promises vengeance to those who've been wronged by the local government. These rangers can call themselves the Temple of Redemption or simply Redeemers. Rituals involving the decapitation of prize bulls are an important part of the Redeemer faith. It is said that those who listen at the mouth of a sacrificed bull can sometimes hear the whispers on advice on how to best punish those who oppress the common folk. These whispers are, of course, the doubtful advice of Baphomet himself. Baphomet has a complex relationship with Pale Knight. The two demon lords share control over the same abyssal layer, although Pale Knight's influence doesn't extend beyond the vast plateau on which her castle is located. The two demons have never joined forces to accomplish a goal, but any attempt to lay siege to one of their holdings in the endless maze might result in the other coming to his or her aid. Baphomet regards several other demon lords with particular hatred, especially Grazit, who imprisoned Baphomet for some time recently, and Yeenagu, with whom Baphomet has been at war for aeons. Baphomet's driving goal is the destruction of his hated foe Yeenagu. Neither demon lord represents the genesis of this mutual hatred, remembers the genesis of this hatred, but most of Baphomet's actions on the material plane are tied in some way to his war efforts against the demon prince of Gnolls, be it the harvesting of fresh souls to fuel his abyssal holdings, to the acquisition of potent magic items to be transported in the hand of his most powerful agents and generals. Clerics of Baphomet have access to the domains of chaos, evil, fury, and strength. His symbol is that of a twisted circular maze awash in blood. Next up is Dagon, the Prince of the Depths. Some things posit that Dagon, choose your Dagon, I guess we'll say, is an Aubrinth and not an actual demon prince. Is what it is. The demon is immense, its glistening bulk heavily heaving monstrously into the air as a writhing storm of hook-suckered tentacles unfold from its shapeless lower body. Its two longest tentacles terminate in an immense five-fingered talons. Its head is that of a deep-sea fish, twisted with cruelty and leering with a primordial intelligence. Its stiletto-like teeth immense and translucent. His body is not quite sea serpent, not quite mollusk, and not quite shark, but somehow horribly a combination of all three. Looks like a xenomorph meets a Cthulhu, man. So, this is a Dagon. Dagon. Ancient Dagon is amongst the oldest demon lords of the abyss and the patron of all who dwell in the lightless depths of the sea. So we're not calling him an Aubrinth, but he has been called an Aubrinth in other sources. Strategies and tactics. All those who would assault Dagon must first withstand his horrific visage. Dagon's true seeing ability allows him to observe which of his enemies possess the most magical auras, and it is these enemies he targets with quickened greater dispel magic during early rounds of combat. Dagon generally eschews his spell-like abilities in combat, saving them for ranged attacks. He splits his attacks amongst as many targets as possible, focusing his attacks only against those foes that seem to be able to hurt him consistently. If brought below 50 hit points, Dagon teleports away to plot revenge at a later date, possibly using Nightmare on his enemies for many weeks or even years to come. Servants and enemies and goals. Dagon survived the rise of the Tenari in large part due to his isolationist nature. When the Queen of Chaos called upon the Auburinth Lords to aid her in her battle against the Wind Dukes of Aqua, Dagon refused her call. Other Auburinths did so as well, and the Queen destroyed them for their trouble. Dagon was powerful enough the Queen dared not raise her tentacles against him. When the Auburinths were defeated, Dagon knew his choice had been the right one. Today, Dagon is held as an oracle and seer amongst the Tanari. They come to this ancient demon with offerings of weapons and sacrifices in return for ancient knowledge of the abyss and its holdings that predate the rise of the Tanari. Dagon has built a mighty empire in his realm on these offerings today as one of the mightiest demon lords in the abyss. Dagon's realm lies directly below Demogorgon's, and the two have entered a strange sort of alliance. Dagon is served by all manner of aquatic demons and monsters in his realm, which is known as Shadow Sea, Layer 89. Despite his Auburinth nature, Marmix's demons often pay tribute, if only to keep him appeased. His favored minions are the Wastroliths. Once Auburinths themselves, these demons retain loyalty to Dagon, despite the fact that they have evolved beyond their ancient roots into their own beings. Dagon's presence is felt on the material plane as well. He is sought by powerful and insane spellcasters for the ancient secrets he guards, and has been known to grant these secrets through spells such as Contact Other Plane. Treat Dagon as a demi-deity on all topics except for the ancient history of the Abyss, on which topics he is treated as a greater deity who always knows an answer. Contact with Dagon is particularly dangerous, though. Intelligence checks made to avoid a decrease in... anytime you talk to him, there's a chance that you lose intelligence and charisma. Dagon is also venerated as a god by certain aquatic races. Kraken are known to worship him, as do some chuls, sea hags, and water nagas. The most fanatic of Dragon's material plane worshippers are certain ancient tribes of Kuo-Toa that dwell in the depths of the open sea and never heard of Blibdolobloop. These Kuo-Toa hold their races existed for aeons before the advent of the gods, that in these ancient times they were the chosen minions of Dagon. Today, their numbers are small and dwindling. They've been hunted nearly to extinction by intolerant Sahuagin who view Dagon as a threat to Sakola's power. Isolated pockets of these ancient Kuo-Toa have relocated to shallower homes off the coast of isolated stretches of land. In many cases, these Kuo-Toa have come into contact with coastal communities of surface dwellers. These unsuspecting coastal villages are quickly converted to Dagon worship by force or trickery. In doing so, these Kuo-Toa hope to rebuild their numbers and strength so as to someday reclaim rulership of the depths. Clerics of Dagon have access to the domains of chaos, entropy, evil, and water. His symbol is a set of 6 spiraling tentacles arrayed around a fanged mouth. Next up, Demogorgon. Just checking my time here. Yeah, we're good. We're going to go through this book. We'll look at a little bit of art on 4th edition. Well, we already looked at the art. And then we'll look at some stat blocks on 5e just to see who's made the cut since then. So, Demogorgon. The demon tower is a full 18 feet tall, his body at once sinuous like that of a snake and powerful like that of a great ape. 2 baleful baboon heads leer from atop his lumbering shoulders, attached to which are 2 long writhing tentacles. His lower torso is saurian, like some great reptile with an immense forked tail. And there's some art for our boy. His art has not changed much over the time. It's gotten more refined. The tentacles changed here and there, but that's really kind of it. Minor details. The Prince of Demon holds his title through sheer might alone. His name alone can inspire a primal fear. Demogorgon is a powerful foe, yet he disdains direct confrontations. He would rather send his minions, of which he has many, into battle to settle his disputes. If Demogorgon must fight, he uses project image first from a secure location protected by demonic minions and symbols of death. He uses his spell-like abilities, using 2 per round until he is confronted in combat. In melee, Demogorgon typically takes a full action attack, a move action, and a standard action to use a spell-like ability. He prefers to use his Beguiling Gaze and Insanity Gaze passively rather than sacrificing opportunities to make physical attacks. He saves his Hypnosis Gaze for when he fights a single foe. Servants, enemies, and goals. Inside the Prince of Demon rages a secret war for control of himself. Demogorgon has 2 heads and therefore 2 minds, and each one seeks domination of the other. Amael is the person in control of Demogorgon's left head, while Hethradea controls the right. Each is unable to control the other, nor could one slay the other without also perishing. By most definitions, this internal conflict would be described as insanity, but that would be applying inappropriate mortal standards to one whom such standards can never apply. Demogorgon's wars with Orcus and Grazit have been epic in scope. Their armies have clashed throughout the abyss since the dawn of the Tanari race. For a brief time, Orcus vanished, apparently slain, as did Grazit, who was imprisoned on the material plane by Igwilv, yet never has the abyss known complete peace from this eternal war. Demogorgon is served by all manner of demons, some of which, such as the Retriever, were actually created by him. Many powerful and unique demons serve him as well as he commands armies of evil lizard folk, scheming Yuan-Ti, sadistic troglodytes, vampiric Ixochotl, and countless shoals of abyssal aquatic predators. His close alliance with the ancient demon lord Dagon has provided him with access to abyssal secrets the other demon lords could only guess about. The method of creating the powerful undead warlords known as Death Knights represents the least of these secrets, yet they are horrific and potent nonetheless. Worshippers of Demogorgon are more likely to be scaly things that hide from the light than humans or members of other civilized races. Despite his stature in the abyss, the vast majority of the material plane is blissfully ignorant of his existence, yet they know his works, if only indirectly. The troglodytes worship him as Amon-Ibor, the sibilant beast, and they use his teachings to bring vile intelligence and fanaticisms to the beasts of the wild. Yuan-Ti know him as Seosavash, and raised great temples to him in sunken caverns. The unnoble Ixochotl are his chosen minions on the material plane, and even they dare not speak his name aloud. The rare human cults that venerate the Prince of Demons welcome piracy and cannibalism with open arms. While humanoid cults dedicated to Demogorgon might be rare, individual humanoids worshippers of the Prince of Demons are more likely menaces. These followers often control the societies they live or have much influence over those who do. They keep their faith secret from the society and use their power to spread evil and misery in his unspoken name. Clerics of Demogorgon have access to domains of chaos, corruption, demonic, and evil. His symbol is a forked tail. Next up, Fraz-Urb'luu. This hulking menace stands just over 18 feet tall despite his hunched posture. His muscular body is covered with short, coarse, pale blue fur. Two black leathery wings protrude from his back, and his coiling tail ends in a cruel, razor-sharp point. His face is framed by large, ragged ears, and while his eyes are relatively small, his mouth is overly large and filled with fangs. There's a little bit more flattering art of Fraz-Urb'luu. He's had a lot of weird art over his time, always kind of pinched in, though. So, deceptive Fraz-Urb'luu is the patron demon lord of illusionists and tricksters, a wrathful prince who only recently has escaped imprisonment from the prime material plane. Strategy and tactics. Fraz-Urb'luu is never encountered without a greater magic fang spell in effect on all of his natural weapons. The statistics include the bonus. He opens combat by summoning monsters and demons, sending these minions to engage the enemy while hanging back and using telekinesis and unholy blight to support them. Fraz-Urb'luu's hatred of humanity tends to trump these tactics, though. Against humans, he prefers to close to melee immediately, focusing his physical attacks on such enemies until they're slain. Whenever he's brought below 100 hit points, he immediately uses deception power to try to summon another demon lord, teleporting away the instant before the other demon appears. He does have the ability to pull in other demon lords as his summon. Very small percentage, but it can happen. Servants, enemies, and goals. The most significant event in Fraz-Urb'luu's recent past was his imprisonment on the material plane below Castle Greyhawk by the mad archmage Zagig. Fraz-Urb'luu remained imprisoned in those infamous dungeons, trapped in a bas-relief carving on a wall for 200 years before he was accidentally released by a pair of adventurers for whom Fraz-Urb'luu promptly repaid by destroying their gear and stranding them in his abyssal realm. Since his escape, Fraz-Urb'luu has spent the last 25 years rebuilding his abyssal realm of Hollow's Heart and searching for his staff, a potent artifact that was stolen at the time of his imprisonment. Fueling these goals is rage focused primarily on all of humanity. Fraz-Urb'luu hopes that when he has fully reestablished his power over Hollow's Heart and reclaimed his staff, he's able to bring this rage to bear on his enemies. Fraz-Urb'luu counts no other demon lord as an ally because his ability to deceive and trick them makes him a particularly hated demon lord. Rumors hold that this hatred might have encouraged some of the other demon princes to aid in Fraz-Urb'luu's imprisonment. For now, his enemies keep a watchful eye on Hollow's Heart, but dare not move against him. He might be alone, but Fraz-Urb'luu remains one of the most powerful of the Abyssal Lords nevertheless. Grazit. We've got a few to go through here. This is why I think this is a great source book. It kind of covers a lot of the greater demons from first edition all the way up to this point in time. It codifies and cleans up some of the what am I trying to think of? So a lot of stuff has been implied. A lot of demon princes and demon lords are mentioned, but never really codified. So I think the third edition Fiendish Codex Hordes of the Abyss does a great job of giving everything a unified appearance for us to pull from moving forward. Grazit, the figure standing before the throne, is darkly handsome, an ebon-skinned man nearly 9 feet tall. His slightly pointed ears, yellow fangs, and 6-figured hands mark him for the demon that he is. Of the demon princes, none appears more human than Grazit, the Dark Prince, patron of tyrants, despots, and all those who would rule by force. Strategy and tactics. Grazit does not hesitate to use his spell-like abilities in combat, and he has particular fondness for his charm monster and empowered unholy blight. Near the start of any combat, he attempts to use Dominate Person against an obvious fighter or rogue, hoping to turn the target against his or her allies. In melee combat, Grazit fights with his +5 Acidic Burst Bastard Sword, which functions as a flaming burst weapon, except it deals acid damage instead of fire. He uses his fear ability against spellcasters and archers to prevent them from aiding those he fights. Servants, enemies, and goals. Grazit's war with the other demon lords of the Abyss is legendary. He controls the largest kingdom. His realm covers 3 adjacent layers of the Abyss. Unfortunately, control of a larger realm doesn't exactly translate into an advantage for a demon lord. Grazit's goal is nothing less than total conquest of the Abyss. He despises the fact that Demogorgon is known as the Prince of Demons. He covets that title more than anything else. His crusade to dominate the Abyss proceeds apace. His most recent triumph was the deposing of the Demon Prince of Madness, Adamarcus. With the aid of his son Althux, Grazit was able to engineer Adamarcus' imprisonment on Carcerai. Unfortunately, Grazit was unable to conquer Adamarcus' realm, Occipitus. The Dark Prince's cold war of intrigue, sabotage, and slander against Malconthet has also been consuming much of his time as of late, and abyssal rumors hold that all-out war between their realms is drawing near. Although a master tactician and accomplished sword fighter, Grazit's true strength lies in seduction and guile. It is not by force alone he realizes that one can win control, but by controlling those who think they are control. He enjoys the notion that he is the most intelligent, cunning creature in the Abyss. Certainly, there are few who can match him in this area, with the possible exceptions of Malconthet and Pazuzu. Unlike many other demon princes, Grazit pays a great deal of attention to what goes on in the material plane. He is fond of trading favors with mortals, giving aid or information now for services to be demanded later. His most infamous alliance with a mortal is his relationship with the Witch Queen Igwilv. Using lore stolen from the mad archmage Zagig, Igwilv managed the audacious and shocking feats of conjuring Grazit and imprisoning him on the material plane. The two became unlikely lovers, and before long a child was born, but as time wore on, Grazit began to suspect Igwilv had no intention of ever releasing him. He could see how his aid had elevated her power significantly, and the time finally came when he could use some of what she had taught him to increase his own power if only he could escape. Eventually, Igwilv faltered in her control, and Grazit turned on her. An epic battle ensued, forcing Igwilv to expend every spell, artifact, and ally she could. And although she managed to banish Grazit back to the Abyss, consigning him to a century of imprisonment, she was herself weakened to the point where she was forced to go into hiding. Eventually, Grazit hazarded revenge and managed to lure her into the Abyss, where he imprisoned her for a time and was finally able to regain his stolen power, and then some. Igwilv eventually escaped back to the material plane, and today she and Grazit maintain a love-hate relationship, each seeking to use the other to gain power in their own domains. Grazit's cult is small except among certain monstrous races such as the Lamias. Most of his priests, known as the Chosen, are female, a testament to his insatiable libido, although the Dark Prince has been known to take on male priests as well. His temples are dark, secluded places often guarded by Lamias, Harpies, or Succubi with class levels. Grazit enjoys contrast, oppositions, and mismatches others find just jarring or disgusting. Despite his fantastic wealth and love of the grotesque, he lives fairly simply. Wily and cunning, he keeps his mind clear from distractions so he can focus on claiming more land and minions by defeating his enemies one at a time. Clerics of Grazit have access to the domains of chaos, demonic, evil, and temptation domains. His symbol is a black six-fingered hand. Juweblix. A shuddering, glistening cone of jelly and slime, strided with veins of black and green, rears up from the pit. Baleful red eyes swim in the thing's gelatinous body, and dripping pseudopods of tremulous ooze writhe with latent hunger in every direction at once. Juweblix, the wretched faceless lord, cares little for cultists or companionship, yet still there are those who find reasons to worship the Lord of Slime. Strategy and tactics. Juweblix closes to melee reach as soon as possible using Grailer Teleport, Fly, or Phase Door if necessary to reach the closest target. He spreads his attacks amongst every victim in reach, attempting to constrict them and engulf them all. In the early rounds of combat, he commences attacks with quick and hold monster spells. He generally uses his abilities to create slime to attack creatures just out of reach or to create barriers to prevent other enemies from reaching him safely. If he is brought below 100 hit points, Juweblix summons oozes or Chernari to keep his enemies busy and then teleports away to recover. Servants, goals, and enemies. Notice how short this is. He's a slime demon. I mean, his goal is to turn everything into slime. The end. But anyway. Of all the demon lords of the abyss, Juweblix is perhaps the simplest and therefore easiest to understand in his goals. Put simply, Juweblix has no goals other than to simply exist, destroying and killing and corroding anything he can get his tendrils around. He hates everything and revels only in destruction. Juweblix shares the 222nd layer of the abyss with Zugtamoy, the Lady of Fungi. The two demons have a long history of conflict and war, with Juweblix's constant attempts to surge upward into Zugtamoy's holdings a constant source of contention between the two. Other demons despise and loathe Juweblix, yet most see him as a faceless menace that poses a threat only to those foolish enough to stand in front of him, and they wisely choose to leave him alone. There is no organized cult of Juweblix, although a few demented souls do revere the faceless lord as a god. It is doubtful Juweblix knows of these few, and if he does, he certainly does encourage them or reward their loyalty. His primary minions are the countless slimes, oozes, and jellies that shudder in the depths of his realm. Of these, only one is intelligent enough to serve the faceless lord willingly, a unique demon black pudding known as Darkness-Given Hunger. Clerics of Juweblix, if there are any, have access to domains of chaos, corruption, evil, and ooze. His symbol is that of pseudopod dripping slime. Next up, Kostichichi. This bandy-legged, 24-foot-tall giant strides through the banks of blood-stained snows with a thunderous roar. He wields an immense maul crafted of cold iron, his malformed head jutting above his hunched shoulders and bearing a bestial mask of rage. The deformed demon giant Kostichichi rules the polluted frozen reaches of the Iron Wastes. He is the patron of frost giants, the lord of wrath and rage. Perhaps more than any of the other major demon lords, Kostichichi revels in the frenzy of combat. He often forgets to use his spell-like abilities entirely or uses them only on opening rounds of combat. He might use his harm ability against a powerful warrior or blast a group of spellcasters with an ice storm or unholy blight. When drawn into melee, he rages and pummels anything in reach with his icy burst cold iron maul. He never retreats from a fight while raging. If reduced to fewer than 50 hit points at any other time, he'll teleport to safety to plan his revenge. Given ample time to prepare for battle, the King of the Iron Waste rallies his favorite mount, a great white worm named Svanfir, from the icy mountains of his domain, and rides her towards his destiny. Servants, enemies, and goals. Kostichichi's wrath and hatred are legendary in the abyss. He has no allies amongst the other demon lords, but is allowed to rule his realm with the 23rd layer of the abyss with little interference as a result of his ruinous temper. This realm is utterly and completely under his command, yet Kostichichi remains unsatisfied with his power. His giants conquer and claim a distant mountain in his name, yet from that mountain's peak the Prince of Wrath can always see one more mountain farther out that remains unconquered. Worse, he is constantly aware that the simple fact that there exists elsewhere in the multiverse legions of frost giants who do not revere him as their master. The concept that these lost children, exist enrages Kostichichi like nothing else, and so he spends much of his time plotting incursions into the regions on other planes, particularly Ysgard and the material plane. If he can avoid it, Kostichichi prefers to convert new tribes of frost giants without slaughtering them. His favorite method is to peer to a new tribe, slay their current leader, and lead the tribe on a gruesome war against their enemies. If the tribe is slaughtered, Kostichichi dismisses them as failures, not true giants. If they succeed, they are rewarded with entrance into the Iron Waste, where their tribe can serve him eternally. Of course, these raids have much done in establishing his reputation as a warmonger amongst those people he incites the giants to assault. Kostichichi has a particular hatred of frost giant tribes who worship other deities, and often launches assaults on these tribes simply to discourage such heretical acts. Most of Kostichichi's cultists are frost giants, although it's not unheard of for particularly brutal tribes of humanoid or ogre barbarians to venerate him as well. Those cultists rank lower in Kostichichi's eyes simply because of their smaller stature, although he does begrudgingly admit that a tribe of fiercely loyal humanoid or ogre barbarians can have its uses. Clerics of Kostichichi have access to the domains of Chaos, Evil, Fury, and Winter. The Winter domain is detailed in the Frostburn book. If you don't have it, replace it with more stuff in the War domain. Next up is Malkanthet. The statuesque beauty wears a sardonic smile on her ruby lips. Curved horns jut from her brow and hold back her long dark hair, and her eyes smolder with dangerous red sensuality. Large leathery wings stretch from her back, the joints of which are laced with razor-like claws, and a sinuous tail ending in a thin curved spike completes the image of demonic beauty. She wears a revealing gown of diaphanous silk and rather-studded leather straps, and she idly toys with a glittering and sparkling scourge made of fine adamantine spiked chains. Malkanthet, the queen of the succubi. She really needs to be in 5e. But anyway, we'll leave that for its own little thing, and there's some art for her. As seductive as she is dangerous, Malkanthet is the patron of the hedonistic, the lustful, and those who would use their beauty and magic charms to control and ruin those around them. Malkanthet is a formidable foe in combat, yet she finds no pleasure in participating in a fight. Rather, she prefers to summon allies to fight for her while she hangs back, observes the fight, and uses mind fog, mass charm monster, symbol of persuasion, and greater command to sow dissent amongst her enemies. When directly confronted and forced to fight, Malkanthet responds with seething rage, focusing all her attacks on a single target. If possible, she flanks her target with an allied creature to gain sneak attack damage. She usually fights with combat expertise at full effect, mixing up her attacks with disarm and trip attacks to keep her foes off balance and unarmed. Malkanthet uses improved feint only if her foe seems particularly difficult to hit, limiting her to one attack with her scourge, but her best attack bonus and with the possibility of dealing sneak attack damage. Servants, enemies, and goals. Malkanthet dwells on an exquisitely beautiful plane on the abyss known as Shendalavri, layer 570. To the casual observer, this realm might seem like a hedonistic paradise. In a way, that is exactly what it is. The problem for visitors is that it serves only as Malkanthet's paradise, and the Queen of the Succubi often takes great pleasure in the torment and ruin of her guests. Malkanthet is served in her palace by numerous incubi and succubi, along with a cabal of 13 Lilitu bards called the Radiant Sisters. These Lilitus do not exhibit their kind's notorious intolerance for other Lilitus or succubi, and their songs can be heard throughout Malkanthet's palace at all times, haunting in erotic melodies that can have unwelcome effects on those who Malkanthet has not invited into her realm. Lamia's harpies and half-fiend nymphs serve her as well. Among the demon lords, Malkanthet's greatest allegiances are with her sometimes lover Pazuzu, whom she has sired numerous particularly deadly succubi children, and Demogorgon, who she has sired things best left unmentioned. Although these were idle affairs engineered by the Queen of the Succubi to gain some favor or prize. Many other minor demon lords such as Shami Amor and Linkab vie for the title of the Queen of the Succubi, but none have been able to usurp Malkanthet from her throne as of yet. She has long been in conflict with Yinagu, and her only contact with him now is when she sends armies to his realm to assault his kingdom, or vice versa. The exact source of this conflict is unclear, but it seems tied to the Mars, a powerful family of wizards, Castle Mar, who dwelt years ago in a massive castle on the material plane. Although amongst the Mars, Malkanthet's greatest servant was a woman called Alluvia. Other factions, the Mar family served Yinagu, and when Alluvia attempted a coup to gain control over the family's holdings with Malkanthet's support, The resulting magical catastrophe ruined the entire family and left none except perhaps Malconthet herself, the victor. In any event, Malconthet and Yeenoghu have been at war ever since. Only her relationship with Grazit is worse. Malconthet maintains that she spurned Grazit for being unworthy of her attentions aeons ago when he tried to court her, and that his wounded pride created the legendary rift between the two. Grazit, of course, maintains the opposite. In any event, the conflict between these two is less of one of open warfare and more of one of constant scheming on how to best upset and ruin the other's realms and plans. Malconthet has many cults on the material plane, groups of courtesans, hedonists, and bored nobles seeking a dangerous thrill to add to their lives. Her clerics have access to the domains of chaos, evil, temptation, and trickery. Her symbol is an iron thorn, drawing a drop of blood from the lower edge of a pair of feminine lips. Okay, sidebar. With the current edition, 5th editions, whether we want to admit it or not, focus on sorcerers and warlocks and direct contacts with these greater powers that be, Malconthet, she needs to come back. She would be chosen by so many warlocks as their patron, and we could absolutely ruin their lives because that's what she does. Sidebar, joking aside, that yeah, she is like the perfect warlock patron. That's what they're all about, is the seduction of darkness for power and selling their souls and all of that kind of stuff. Malconthet, she needs to return. There's nothing stopping you from making a return to your campaigns. Technically, she's not officially been listed as a 5e stat blocked monster yet. Anyway. Obox Ob. Some fun names here, too. This huge demon's body is an insane thicket of spidery limbs scrabbling for purchase with razor-sharp talons arrayed around a scorpion-shaped body. Where her face should be, writhe 3 immense tails, each tipped with a jagged stinger that seeps black venom. Where her tail should be is a thick neck surmounted by a horrific face, complete with a vertically aligned mouth and 3 pairs of leering red eyes that seem horrifically human in shape. From its murderous maw extends a glistening red tongue, itself tipped with a hollow spike shaped like a corkscrew. Wow. There's Obox Ob. Train wreck of a monster. Technically an Obrinth. Primeval and ruinous, the Obrinth prince, Obox Ob, was once the prince of demons in an ancient age. His power is much diminished today, yet his lust for its return grows with every passing second. He is the lord of vermin and patron of those who see divinity in their repugnant frames. Obox Ob's response to attacks is to lash out with his stingers, bite, and tongue. He uses quickened giant vermin ability in the early rounds of combat to create colossal monstrous scorpions. He then uses quickened telekinesis to bull rush enemies off cliffs or into solid objects. The Prince of Vermin greatly enjoys melee combat and generally resorts to non-quickened spell-like abilities only against targets he can't reach with these attacks. Servants, enemies, and goals. Oh, yeah, this is going to be a long one. We're almost done. I promise we're almost done. Obox Ob once held the title Prince of Demons during the Age Before Ages when the Abyss was ruled by the Obrinths. He had this title stolen from him by the Queen of Chaos, who killed him and granted his title to Miska the Wolf Spider. Although Obox Ob was slain, his most powerful aspects survived and went into hiding on a deep layer of the Abyss called Zionin, layer 663. For many aeons, Obox Ob lurked here, a shadow without a true form. In time, he grew bold and emerged from hiding, only to find that the Abyss had moved on in his absence. The Tanari now ruled, and Obox Ob had been forgotten. Obox Ob is not content to rule Zionin and constantly rages across the face of this layer, bringing destruction and ruin to the echoloids who dwell here and worship his fury. Reduced to the Prince of Vermin, Obox Ob wants nothing less than to murder Demogorgon, claim his title, and then cleanse the Abyss of the taint of the Tanari and return it to Obrinth rule. But before he can launch this plan, he first seeks to reclaim the true power he held so long ago. Obox Ob's search for power extends to the prime material plane. On some material plane's world, his cult is quite powerful. He recently almost managed to draw an entire world into the Abyss to fuel his ascensions, but failed at his task when heroes of that realm opposed him by engineering a devastating disruption to the flow of magic at a crucial moment during the ritual. Since this humiliating defeat, Obox Ob has quietly observed his remaining cults, waiting for one to achieve similar chances of success in the future. Until then, these cults maintain a low profile, often basing their activities in ruined cities lost in vast deserts, where they can be close to the scorpions so sacred to his faith. Clerics of Obox Ob have access to chaos, destruction, entropy, and evil. His symbol is a scorpion dangling by its tail from a jawless human skull covered in twisting runes. Orcus, the massive bloated demon, stands 15 feet tall, his immense frame a hideous combination of muscle and bloated flesh. His head is that of a ram with a great maw filled with tusks, and his thick furred legs end in cloven hooves. Leathery wings and a barb-tipped tail complete the picture of the archetypical demon. And we remember him from first edition. Still has not changed much. We look at him in our 4th edition. A little bit more beefy looking, but still recognizable easily as Orcus. Strategy and tactics of all the innumerable demon lords of the abyss. Note that word, innumerable demon lords of the abyss. This is not a comprehensive listing. These are some of the more well-known and used ones in our lore. They are innumerable. You can make up as many as you want as you go along. You can change them as you need to, man. That's the fun thing about the abyss. Of the innumerable demon lords of the abyss, dread and vile Orcus, prince of the undead, might be one of the most often worshipped as a god. Orcus relies heavily on his wand in combat, much preferring to engage foes in melee. Armed with his free claw, gore, and poison tail are almost afterthoughts. If faced with numerous powerful foes, Orcus does fight more carefully. He summons undead and Tanari to engage foes in melee, while he provides support with Finger of Death, Wail the Banshee, and his other spell-like abilities. Servants, enemies, and goals. After becoming complacent in his eternal war with Demogorgon and Grazit, Orcus was recently murdered and deposed. But then Orcus rose from the dead. An undead demon took the name Tenebrous for a time, hiding in the shadows of the multiverse and waiting to take his revenge. Now he has restated himself to his former position and reclaimed his realm Thanatos, and once again finds himself in a struggle for dominance with many other demon lords. Orcus is no longer content to grow fat and decadent in his castle. He focuses his anger and hate on the absolute destruction of his enemies and the spreading of woe and havoc amongst mortals. He covets Grazit and Demogorgon's realm above all others and commands a host of undead and demons that ravage entire layers of the abyss at his whim. Against Grazit, Orcus's tactics are fairly direct. He constantly sends wave after wave of his limitless undead armies against Grazit's 3 abyssal layers, continuing these battles eternally since Orcus can replace fallen undead soldiers as quickly as they're destroyed by Grazit's defenders. The relentless assault is inexorably penetrating deeper and deeper into Grazit's territory, but at nowhere near the pace that Orcus wishes. He realizes that Demogorgon is a more powerful foe, and as a result, Orcus's actions against the Prince of Demon are more subtle. He sends small bands of Nabasu, vampires, and liches into Gaping Maw and other places Demogorgon holds sway to undertake missions of precisely calibrated assassinations and sabotage. Yet, while Orcus himself might not be as powerful as Demogorgon, and his realm might be dwarfed by the size of Grazit's holdings, Orcus's cult on the material plane is, in truth, his greatest resource. In particular, orcs, half-orcs, ogres, and giants revere Orcus, as do large numbers of corrupt and despicable humans. His temples are usually hidden, his worshippers form secret societies that commit atrocities and wage wars in his name. He demands living sacrifices from his cultists, and blood and skulls are important parts of the imagery used in his worship. Intelligent undead rarely serve him willingly, although many vampires, liches, and other undead creatures are forced into his servitude by dark pacts or compelling magic. Clerics of Orcus have access to domains of chaos, death, demonic, and evil. His symbol is his wand. Pale Night. Now, we did talk about her a little bit in 2E. Let's look at her again. A strange shimmering in the air announces the arrival of a shape, little more than a billowing white diaphanous sheet. Closer inspection reveals a lithe and seductive form beneath the sheet, a voluptuous feminine figure, indistinct and hazy. Now and then the edges of the sheet rise a little too highly on the netherwind, yet never rise high enough to reveal the details that writhe beyond. Pale Night, the mother of demons. Mysterious and enigmatic, Pale Night claims to be the mother of many demon lords. Certainly she is one of the oldest of their kind. Strategy and tactics. Pale Night prefers to summon demons to fight her fights, but if pressed, she trusts her incorporeality and swoops in to attack. Her first action in any combat is to reveal the truth beyond the veil, followed by her touch attacks. Her speed coupled with her mobility and spring attacks feats allow her to move in and out of melee quickly. If surrounded, she uses whirlwind attack to swipe at all adjacent foes at once. If she has time to prepare for her combat, she finds a demon or any other nearby host, even one that she summons, and uses magic jar to possess it. Pale Night Shroud acts as the gem requires. Pale Night Shroud acts as the gem required for the magic jar spell. Any creature that Pale Night possesses becomes wrapped in an invisible shawl that can be observed by creatures only be seen by creatures using see invisibility. Or true seeing. Once she secures a host, Pale Night uses the body to ruin before abandoning it for another. Servants, goals, and enemies. Oops, scroll too far. Pale Night is an enigma. An Obrinth who was ancient even during that race's reign on the Abyss. Pale Night dwells in a bone castle located on the 600th layer of the Abyss, since long before Baphomet claimed that layer as his own. Indeed, Baphomet's maze avoids a particular stretch of existence around Pale Night's castle, and he has never openly attempted to influence matters within her realm. Pale Night is also the matron of Androlin, where she still torments the ancient offspring of the Eladrin host that tried to cleanse the Abyss of the Obrinth presence after their defeat on the field of Pesh. Much has been written about this mysterious lord. The Mors Mysterium Nominum claims that she is the mother of several Chernari lords, including Grazit, Lupricio, and Vukorik of Chains. The Black Scrolls of Om claim that she is the mother of nothing less than the Chernari race itself. Igwulf's Demonomicon, on the other hand, portrays her not as a mother of demons, but a mother of several notorious and monstrous material plane races, such as the Harpy and the Lamia. What seems certain is that Pale Night is viewed as a mother figure not only by her cultists, but by many of the denizens of the Abyss itself. Pale Night's reaction to visitors in her realms depends upon her mood at the time of their visit. Sometimes she merely sends them on their way, other times she embraces them and adds them to her haunted gallery of stolen lives. On the material plane, Pale Night's cult is virtually unknown. Cultists that do exist are few in number, usually consisting of 3 or 4 spellcasters who seek ways of introducing horrific new races of demonic terror on the world by impregnating female creatures of all kinds with raw abyssal chaos. The issue of these births is always a half-fiend and often one with unique and distinctive abilities beyond the normal of their kind. Clerics of Pale Night have access to the domains of chaos, corruption, evil, and knowledge. Her symbol is a billowing white sheet draped over a starry field. Up next is Pazuzu. Although he's a tall, well-proportioned man, this figure's demonic feature cannot be ignored. His powerful bird-like talons scrape the floor as he approaches, and 4 feathered wings shine with oil and writhe with smoke on his back. His head combines the features of a handsome man and a feral hawk, his cruel, hooked beak filled with a forest of needle teeth. Pale Night lore, that was a little bit out of the way. Mighty Pazuzu is one of the oldest of the Chernari princes. His realm is the skies above the abyssal layers, and he takes great delight in the corruption of purity. In a fight, Pazuzu leads with his great sword, a murderous weapon said to have been a feather he plucked from the body of a massive demonic bird. He uses combat expertise to full effect, often making disarm or trip attacks with one of his natural weapons. If he flies, he can use his talons to slash at prey. He uses breath weapon spell-like abilities against other spellcasters or those who don't dare enter into melee with him. Servants, enemies, and goals. Pazuzu is a unique example of survival in the Abyss. Originally one of the more powerful Obrinth lords, his independence was a constant thorn in the Queen of Chaos' side. As it turned out, Pazuzu has since evolved with the new rule of the Abyss. While he is still an Obrinth, he has been accepted by Chernari and represents a sort of missing link between the two races. Due to the duality of his nature, Pazuzu's form has taken on a less horrible appearance with the passing of aeons, and his form of madness ability has transformed into his current aura of servile avians. He has also gained several Chernari-like qualities, including the ability to summon Chernari. Although Pazuzu commands the respect and loyalty of all evil things that fly in the abyssal skies, he is rarely forced to call upon these creatures. Perhaps alone in the Abyss, Pazuzu has no active enemies. The other demon lords seem to begrudgingly award him the skies above their realms, if only because there seems to be little there to claim. Grazit alone has been known to speak ill of Pazuzu, yet has never taken direct action against him. The one demon lord that could be counted as his enemy is the wretched and deformed Lamashtrue, although the Queen of Monstrous Births has been imprisoned by Pazuzu on Toromor for countless ages, so she is hardly a threat to the demon prince. Pazuzu does not lust for the rule of a realm in the Abyss, although he nonetheless controls the 503rd layer of the Abyss, and his presence is nearly constant on the first layer. Nor does he wish to rule over his fellow demons. His goals are higher. He lusts for innocence, purity, and honesty. These sweet nectars are his greatest vice, and as he consumes them, he leaves bitterness, cruelty, and wickedness in the shells of those he has corrupted. Since these qualities are so alien in the abyss, he logically has little interest in what dwells therein, and instead turns his attention to the material plane. Pazuzu has tested this as his ability to manifest on the material plane worlds without drawing the undue attention of the gods who protected them for some time, and that time he has mastered the art of telling mortals what they think they want to hear. Pazuzu's cults start with a single soul who cries out to the demon prince for aid. Pazuzu gives this aid, and those who call on him grow dependent on his aid. They crave the power his touch can bring. Within a year, those who have called upon him invariably join or found a new cult dedicated to his teachings, where they seek to capture and convert new innocents to his worship. Dun dun dun. Yeenagu. I think we're almost done. Yeah, Yeenagu and Zugtmore will be our last couple here. Sidebar. Loth did not make the cut to this because she is considered a deity in this point, so she's in the deities and demigods for 3rd edition. We said she's considered a demon queen of spiders in our Fiend folio, and likewise with Q1 queen of the demon web pits. In 2nd edition, she was basically elevated to that of a deity that happens to live in the abyss, so she doesn't she doesn't have a spot in this book. So last up is our boy Yeenagu, and then we'll close out our comments here. This gaunt, 12-foot tall humanoid demon is covered with mangy patches of yellow fur and has pale gray flesh showing where the fur is absent. His face is that of a leering, amber-eyed hyena, and he wields a massive flail with 3 spiked heads. Savage and ruthless, Yeenagu is the patron of all gnolls and commands the servitude of ghouls through the subjugation of the demonic king of ghouls. Gnolls and ghouls both. Bestial and straightforward, Yeenagu is more likely to charge into melee, growling and screaming epithets before doing anything more subtle, although his first action in combat is almost always to cast bull strength on himself. If faced with large numbers of foes, he'll summon gnolls, ghouls, and demons for support. Servants, enemies, and goals. Yeenagu is one of the lesser demon lords, yet he still commands a large empire on the 422nd layer of the Abyss, a region known as Yeenagu's Realm. He spends much of his time hunting lesser creatures or captured mortals and idly plotting assaults on the holdings of powerful demonic enemies who are not themselves quite yet demon lords. One of Yeenagu's greatest and earliest triumphs was the subjugation of Dorazane, the king of ghouls. Once a vassal of Orcus, the king of the ghouls controlled his own lair of the abyss until Yeenagu's army invaded and conquered the lair and its undead ruler. The king swore fealty to Yeenagu and continues to pay him homage to this day. Dorazane still rules the White Kingdom today as a sworn ally of the more powerful Prince of Gnolls. Orcus's attention has been elsewhere, and so far he has not acted against the Prince of Gnolls for the theft of one of his subjects. One of Yeenagu's greatest desires is to see the prosperity of his people, the Gnolls. He envisions a material plane dominated by his children, whereas in humans and dwarves and halflings are slaves at best and food at worst. Yet he realizes that all the Gnolls in the material plane could not achieve such a goal, and as a result he actively supports cultists of other races to turn to him for support. The enigmatic leader of the Mar family once represented this most powerful cult amongst humanity at the time, yet an internal strife caused by rival demon lord Malconthet saw the ruin of this resource. Today, Yeenagu counts the Queen of Succubi as one of his greatest enemies and periodically raids her realm. He is always turned back by her defenses, but one day he hopes to gain enough allies to see her ruin. Only Yeenagu's eternal war with Baphomet nears the level of his hatred for Malconthet. The source of the conflict between the Prince of Gnolls and the Prince of Beasts is unclear, likely forgotten even by the two demon lords themselves, yet they show no signs of ceasing their eternal hostilities. Yeenagu demands living sacrifices in remote wilderness regions on altars of crude stone. His faithful wear dark brown robes, accentuated by mangy yellow furs. They are not allowed to clean these robes, and in time they grow horrific with clotted blood and foul odors. Clerics of Yeenagu have access to the domains of chaos, demonic evil, and fury, and his symbol is a triple-headed flail. And our last demon prince for this reading here, princess, demon lord, Zugtmoy. This foul demoness resembles a human only from the torso up. This portion of her body is composed of thick, rancid sheets and coils of fungus that just happen to have grown into the shape of what would otherwise be an attractive woman. 4 fibrous antlers grow from her brow, and her hands bear cruel talons. Her lower torso is a coiling pillar of lashing, roping tendrils and other fungus growths. Her skin is a nauseating swirl of grays, blues, purples, and blacks. Zugtamoy has a dangerous interest in the material plane where her secretive and foul cults are behind far more of the world's ills than one might guess. Strategy and tactics. Zugtamoy has no fear of combat. Given the opportunity to smash and ruin living flesh, she rarely backs down. She is seldom encountered without a contingent of fungus monsters and Vrox, who she uses as buffers against melee fighters while she spends the first few rounds of combat casting walls of thorns to separate allies from each other, Greater Dispel Magic to remove spell effects on her enemies, and Polymorph any object on rogues or arcane spellcasters to transform them into violet fungi. Once combat begins, she uses a quicken contagion each round to augment her physical attacks. Zugtamoy has long struggled with maintaining viable cults on the material plane. As it turns out, most humanoids have little interest in worshipping fungi. To combat this, she often establishes cover cults that are subservient to her actual worshippers. Her greatest triumph, and possibly her greatest error in this arena, was the creation of the Temple of Elemental Evil. This facade cult consisted of 4 cults dedicated to the intrinsic evil within the 4 elements. These 4 cults would work together against their enemies, yet had built-in competition between themselves that ensured they would never grow too powerful for Zugtamoy's true cultists to manipulate. The Temple of Elemental Evil's popularity amongst local humanoid cultures proved to be its undoing. They grew too potent too quickly and attracted the attention of the potent Circle of 8. A consortium of powerful wizards, the Circle of 8 defeated the Temple's army in the Battle of Emerald Meadows and imprisoned Zugtamoy in the Temple's dungeons. She escaped many years later, but not without being forced to abandon a significant portion of her essence on the material plane. Since then, she's been rebuilding her strength and power on her abyssal realm of Shadakla. There are 222. Zugtamoy often finds herself at odds with other demon lords with whom she shares interest in the material plane. For some time, Loth was her greatest competition for dominance of the Underdark, but the Spider Queen's recent ascension as a deity has effectively elevated her out of contention. Cultists of the two still clash now and then, but these are minor skirmishes rather than a war. A more immediate concern to Zugtamoy is Dweeblix, who shares her realm. The 2 demon lords have long warred for dominance over Shadakla, with Zugtamoy traditionally holding the surface and Dweeblix being forced to lurk in the deepest caverns below. With Zugtamoy's recent period of imprisonment on the material plane, Dweeblix was able to greatly expand his holds on Shadakla. Clerics of Zugtamoy have access to the domains of chaos, evil, ooze, and plant. Her symbol is a jawless human skull with large mushroom growing out from within. And that is the end of our Fiendish Codex 1, Hordes of the Abyss. It is a great source to look at the greater demons, the demon lords, demon princesses, whatever you want to call them. 4th edition represented them, but there is a major change in how the multiverse worked. We went from being the cosmic wheel to the astral sea and the elemental chaos. The abyss itself didn't really change. Demons didn't change. But there is a dearth in the information. For what it's worth, none of the lore changed on these demon princes. We're not going to go through the readings again. And we're going to close out by going to our 5th edition real quick. What I did was filtered all of my content to see what are the demon lords that are currently available being they'll officially produced, I guess is a better way to say, official stat block. So we have Baphomet, the demon lord of beasts and minotaurs. We talked about him a lot. Nothing to add or nothing to change. Likewise with Demogorgon. Look, Frazer Blue's here, Grazit's here, Dweeblix is here, Orcus is here, Yunagu here, and Zugtamoy is here. So the demons that were around in 1st edition and 2nd edition have been repopulated in 5th edition. Now, that is not to say that the ones that we just talked about don't exist. They just haven't been brought into the game in stat blocks. And again, there's been enough that we've read about so far in regards to the Abyss, Demons, Demon Princes to, if there's nothing else you take out of this, as a dungeon master, you have full creative control and full rights to create any sort of creatures that you need to fit what you're trying to do in the Abyss, provided they are chaotic and evil, okay? That's the only standing rule that has been from 1st edition to 5th edition. The Abyss is the embodiment of chaotic evil. It's a manifestation of chaotic evil, and the creatures within are dedicated to chaos and evil, okay? So if you're a 5th edition dungeon master, you're like, oh man, I want some of these other cool demons. The thing you can do is you can kind of keep this stat block to the side. Take a look at your 3rd edition Fiendish Codex. Study Zugtamoy's stat block. See what's parallel in the 5th edition, and then if you decided to make Malkin Thet, you could do the same comparison. What are the comparative power names in 5th edition to 3rd edition? And find like power names, abilities to true it up. I don't want to make it sound easy. It can be complex and convoluted to customize stat blocks for greater demons. Lesser demons, shit. Take a rock, give them 4 arms. You're done. You know, I mean, joking but not joking. You have a lot of freedom in here, but ultimately there's a lot of lore and interaction and interconnection between the demon princes and the demon lords, the greater demons, that's been in place since 1st edition, that's still in play now. Very, very rarely, unless you're planning it, will these interactions manifest themselves in your adventure. More so, these are the sources of ideas and seeds and campaign threads that are appearing within these conflicts amongst demons. Demon Lord A is getting too powerful. Well, who does Demon Lord A not like? Demon Lord B, okay, you know, so I'll have Demon Lord B come in. I hate you, but I hate him more. I'll help you. For example, it doesn't always have to be evil versus good. You know, the Celestials come to save the people from the material plane from the demons. It can be another rival demon lord that helps with subterfuge, helps to you know, cut off the reach, helps to limit the resources of the BBEG, as it were. Another thing that you should get out of this is there are very few of these demon princes that get along with each other. The demons are more likely to fall into fighting themselves and fighting amongst each other than they are unifying against you, okay? More often than not, unless your player character is a serious thorn in the side, yeah, the demon's like, I got nothing to deal with you. I've been fighting this eternal war with Grazit forever. You're not my problem. But if you can help me fight this war with Grazit, you might be an asset. But yeah, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up here. The main thing I wanted to do was just to give an overview of the Demon Lords, Demon Princes. We did end up, again, I'm a firm believer in them. I'm a 5th edition Dungeon Master. I'm a big fan of the 3rd edition content. Some of the more wide-reaching and consistent. It takes in lore from different stories and different editions and gives it to you in one source book. So if you're truly interested in the Abyss and Demons, add this one to your collection. That's a strong recommendation. But above all else, thank you for your time. This has been a long video. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. Our next video, we'll look at the Abyss in specific layers. We're going to look at some of the habitats of these demon princes. Several of them were mentioned in the book, and we're gonna expand upon that in our next video. Likes, follows, subscribes are appreciated. If you've been following along, thank you so much. If you know anyone that might enjoy this series, send a link to them, man. Tell them to give this dude a subscription. But we're getting back into production mode, and we'll be working on this series in the near future. So, hey, thank you for being here. Likes, follows, subscribes. Let me some comments. Join us over on Twitch if you want. All that stuff's on the page if you want to talk about this stuff in real time. Thank you so much. Take care.